Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, and welcome to This Week in North America. Appreciate you taking the time and joining us. And we've got some great news for you coming up a little later in the broadcast. We do have two guests that will be on. Our first half hour, we'll be speaking to a New Jersey State Senate candidate. His name is Carmen Bucco. He'll be telling us a little bit about his compelling story, what he overcame when he was a young child and eventually became an American entrepreneur, a business owner, and eventually a candidate for the New Jersey State Senate. Also, Tajana, better known as TJ, in Canada with Truth Seekers. She will be joining us at the second segment of this broadcast. Now, just when you thought that things in Canada have reached a climax where the government would understand that their policies are certainly revealing their coziness with the policies of President Xi in China, we were sent this information that actually was published on January 12th of 2022. Now, for the sake of the Americans and others around the world who don't live in Canada, because I believe the Canadian people may be aware of this, we were not aware of this. And so I'm going to read this to you a little bit and then comment on it. So this was reported, again, it looks like by True North, by Jonathan Bradley, January 12th, 2022. It's hard to believe, by the way, what I'm about to read. Right? And I know the Americans watching are going to find this very, very hard to believe. The RCMP Commissioner, Brenda Lucki, I believe, I don't know if she's still there, okay? But anyway, back then she was the RCMP Commissioner. Brenda Lucki urged Canadians to report suspicious internet behavior, including comments by people who express anti-government, anti-law enforcement opinions. We find this astonishing because this statement by this commissioner appears, at least to us, to be anti-government and anti-law enforcement. When you are asking people to pretty much take an action that is in violation of the rights of other people, the rights to free speech, in this particular case, it's just startling that someone who's supposed to have some brains in law enforcement would even issue such a statement. Now, the other issue is this. They said that they issued a guide called Reporting Suspicious Incidents to Police, and encourage internet users to watch out for people with suspicious politics or anti-authority views that include anti-government, anti-law enforcement opinions, etc. Folks, this is astonishing to most of us in a free world. Astonishing, I know, to the people who are defending their freedom, liberties, and individual rights in Canada. But here in the United States, this is absolutely absurd. It really is. Now, Mayor de Blasio of New York tried something like this when he suggested that people call the police if they see their neighbors standing close together. Remember during the COVID-19 fiasco, don't stand within 6 feet of each other, wear a mask, wear a helmet, wear all kinds of oxygen tubes while you're walking. Well, de Blasio, he was one of the mayors, Democrats, obviously, who suggested that if you see your neighbor in their yard, maybe having a party, not standing 6 feet apart, take a picture, call the police. That went from neighbors being encouraged to rat on their neighbors to drones. So certain police departments around the country having drones, taking pictures of people on their private property in violation of the Constitution of the United States when it comes to search, seizure, and all kinds of laws. Well, de Blasio's policy on this lasted about a day, And then after that, that was the end of that. So this RNCP commissioner maybe would want to do some research. And if she's not there anymore, maybe the individual who took her place, and realize that probably the only country in the world that suggests their people should do this is China, communist China. Startling, absolutely startling. But anyway, we're going to use this news article as part of our Project Maple Leaf, and I'll be giving you an update real soon on that. And these are the things that we must get to our Congress here, that we must get to our lawmakers and make them very well aware of why we are saying here at Campaign for America that the Canadian government is, in our view, all right, I'm not saying it's fact, all right, I'm saying it's our view for the fact checkers, becoming a threat to the United States of America. There's no country on earth other than China at this point, communist China, maybe Cuba, maybe some other small countries around the world who believe in the communist ideology, Venezuela maybe. But I picked China because the coziness between the Canadian government and Beijing is astounding, absolutely astounding. So we're educating and informing our lawmakers. We're engaging them on these issues that are developing in Canada. And we're going to ask our lawmakers to take appropriate action within diplomatic channels, within the framework of the law. But in a letter that we will publish very, very soon to the House Committee on Foreign Affairs here, we outlined a few startling pieces of legislation that are being considered or even passed in Canada. And we made it clear that this happened once before. With regard to the United States, we named some people in that report, Americans, back then when the Soviets were doing the same thing the Chinese are doing now in Canada. And we feel we have a good argument for at least for the United States Congress to begin watching what's going on our northern border. And we'll talk more about that some other time. In fact, when I spoke to TJ earlier, we did talk about these issues. So what you're going to see now are interviews I had with both of them. First, Carmen Bucco. We're going to roll the video. I was able to speak to them earlier. They couldn't make it tonight live, but you're going to see this live, okay? The video. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to be watching with you. First, Carmen Bucco. He's running for the New Jersey State Senate here in New Jersey. And then TJ from Truth Seekers in Canada. And then I'll get back to you in between. So here we go, folks. Carmen Bucco. Ladies and gentlemen, with me tonight is Mr. Carmen Bucco. Mr. Bucco is running for the New Jersey State Senate here in the United States of America. He is a friend of mine. He is a business owner, and he decided to step up, to speak out, to run for office so that he can make the changes that could not only help the state of New Jersey, but this country. Carmen, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Steve. Long time no see. Great to see that.
I'll tell you what, the suit that you made for me a couple of years ago, people love it. The problem is I gained a few pounds, so I have to come back and get it get it extended, if you will. But thanks so much. Now, Carmen, you have a passion for people. I know that. And I know you have a passion for good government. But let's talk about some of the policies of Governor Phil Murphy and the Democrats here in New Jersey that devastated small businesses across this state. You own a business in New Jersey. So there are a lot of business people in New Jersey, in America, and in Canada, by the way, watching. So can you share with us the effects it had on you? And as a senator, what you plan to do to prevent that catastrophe from ever happening again?
So in my business, so I make clothes, and a lot of my business has to do with weddings. It was a hard hit for every small business in this country. What they did, to let big box stores open up and dilute the small businessman and destroy the small businessman was, when I tell you, a huge mistake. I did pivot, which helped my business a lot, but for 2 years we just had no support whatsoever. Look, you got to thank them. You got to thank the country a little bit for stepping up to the plate and helping fund us small businesses a little bit. So the reality is in small business, you have to pivot. You have to negotiate better deals in small business. You have to do what you need to do to survive. survival was brutal I'm just getting back at this point, and now we're getting back. Now they're destroying us again, because now getting our product and supplies and this and that are costing us double. So there is no end to this, and it's got to stop. And as a small businessman, I'll tell you that we are going to focus in my district, LD20, and focus on getting these small businesses back to where they are and what they need. Sometimes it's not just money. Sometimes it's just guiding them in certain aspects of social media. They just need, sometimes they don't need the money. They just need a hand up to say, how do I get this done? What can we do to make it better? Does that make any sense?
It does. Now you're in LD20, Legislative District 20. What I don't understand, and maybe you could help clear this up, is how anyone who owns a business in their right mind could vote Democrat. I just don't understand it. These individuals run for office over and over and over again. They get reelected over and over again. And the people who are reelecting them are the people who are being hurt the most. So tell me about that and what you can do to change some of these minds, because you're going to need Democrats to cross over.
Look, Steve, I am a moderate Republican. I believe in a hand up, not a handout, right? People do need help. And the problem we have in politics today is everybody's so focused on the popular vote. And that's why a lot of politicians, I'm sure you know this, a lot of politicians stay the same. You're not going to change them because they're so embedded into the system and I believe in term. I believe in you can run maybe 2 or 3 times and then you have to kind of bow out or go to a better position.
Term limits. In fact, I term limited myself when I was a Nutley commissioner.
Yes. So look, the reality is it's a popularity contest. People aren't looking, and the media is no help either. The media does nothing to be fair and balanced. But I've turned a lot of Democrats my way. And the reason is because, like I told them, I believe in a hand up. I don't believe in a handout. Look, you want help, but there's got to be a time limit on that help. Let's talk about affordable housing. I believe that, we do need affordable housing. Growing up in the foster care system, I'll get a little bit deeper into that. I could have used that, right? Instead of living in a boarding house, I could have used that help and assistance. But there has to be a time period where you say enough is enough. You get 5 years. If you can't progress in 5 years, you got to be able to turn and flip those properties to give other people an opportunity to live the American dream. It's that simple.
Carmen, there are a lot of people watching right now here in the United States, Canada, and around the world who have been brought up in orphanages, have been brought up with foster care. Some of these individuals watching have adopted children.
Yeah.
And they've had a very difficult time in the United States. I can't speak for other countries, but in the United States. But would you please share your personal story to people watching and struggling at this time? And maybe there's some young people watching who are in foster care. So I think maybe by you sharing your story, if you will, it'll be quite a godsend maybe to them. So take your time. I'm going to give you all the time you want to talk about this.
So I'm going to give you the short story because we could go on for hours. But most of my life, I grew up in the foster care system. I've lived on the streets. Had a major drug problem. The short story is I decided that it was either I was going to become a statistic or I was going to become part of society. And it turned down to one day where my friends found me 3 days later after a big party. I turned around and I said, enough is enough. I started shining shoes. I started in the men's industry. And today, now I own, 2 stores. We're expanding rapidly. I've been blessed by the American dream. I've been blessed by, Steve, you know a lot about my past. It was the police that helped me and gave me an opportunity and said, hey, knock it off, do something better with your life. So it was the guidance actually of the police officers and the town of Nutley that actually helped put me where I am today. And I'm very excited because of all of that. I've actually started a foundation, Buco's Rising Stars, for foster kids and orphans that are actually transitioning into adulthood, because most people don't even realize it, but a lot of these kids are actually sold and trafficked. And most of them live on the streets and they become drug addicts. They just need an opportunity. Look, and I hope I'm not being very blunt about this, but we're giving all this money to illegal immigrants to come here and survive. And I say illegal immigrants because I don't want that to be misconstrued. Illegal immigrants are getting all the benefits, and we have vets here. We have public safety that are getting mutilated and people living on the streets, and we're not supporting them first. We should be supporting these people first. Get these people off the streets, give them a life. And then you want to come here the right way, just like all our ancestors did. I don't have a problem with that, right? Because we know most Americans aren't going to do the labor's jobs that people that come from other countries are going to do. I wanted to start a factory here in the United States to start making clothes here in the United States. I can't even get that done.
It's an extraordinary story you have. And what bothers me is that and now I'm going to be blunt, okay? Look, and I'm a Republican. I'm a well-balanced Republican. But what disturbs me is that the Republican Party has a candidate like you with a real-life story background that really touches the hearts and souls and the spirits of people. And yet, it seems to me that the Republican Party doesn't finance campaigns or help people like you who can really win. And one more thing before I get to you, Carmen. What bothers me is this. I receive in the mail every day, and I'm sure you've seen this. Come to this Republican candidate's breakfast, $500 a plate. Come to the dinner, $10,000 for a photograph with the candidate. How do you deal with that?
So I say look, I love the Republican Party because I love the opportunity it gives, right? We're not far left. We're not far right. Most of us are in the middle. The Republican Party doesn't do what the Democratic Party does. We don't focus on building an organization. I think sometimes we forget we're like Italians, right? We get jealous of each other. We talk bad about each other. I think this Republican Party starts to come together and see the value that it brings to this country. You're going to have a swarm of Republicans coming out, and we see it now that we're getting more Republican people registering as Republicans versus Democrat today. So we know that people are tired. Here's the problem: is Republicans, number one, are so focused, and I can tell you this from fact. Republicans are so focused on we're not going to mail in our ballots. We're going on election day. Election day doesn't start October. It starts November. It's one day. The problem is we have to get focused on the fact that election day starts in October when they open up. We know that they're going to do some fishy stuff, but I always say don't hate the game, hate the player, right? So the player is the Democratic Party. The game is the Democratic Party, and the player in the game is the Democratic Party. How do you succeed and how do you push over that? You start playing the game legally, do it the right way and honestly, but get your people out. I think a lot of times, and I think on this campaign trail, we're looking at different ways, like we did in Belleville and Nutley, is you have to get your district people to now get ward people and now step up to the plate and say, those ward people, it's their job to get the vote out. Because I can't do it in the district that I'm in. There's just too many people that hit to walk door to door. Today, social media does a lot, but the fact is, if you spread yourself out, and the Republican Party actually focuses on building the party again, because we don't have any young Republicans anymore. At least in Union County, we don't have any young Republicans. So we're not attracting the young people to say, where do you want this country to go in 20 years? Because you are the face. You guys are the face. And that's even like, right, we always say it's all about the children. They are the face of what's going to happen in the next 20 years.
Carmen, here's an assessment I have, and I'd like you to weigh in on this. As a Republican and a candidate running for office, I'm concerned that the Republican Party, especially here in New Jersey, is committing political suicide. They are continuing to argue with each other. They're continuing to disgrace each other. There was some issues in North Jersey regarding candidates suing organizations taking candidates to court. You see none of this on the other side. You see none of this in the Democrat Party. And what bothers me is that the leadership of the Republican Party in New Jersey, and I know, look, at people don't like to hear this. I have a lot of friends in the establishment, if you will. But look, I'm at liberty to say what I want, and I'm always going to say what I want and mean what I say. Like you, okay? You don't have a collar around your neck where when somebody pulls it, you got to jump. But it seems to me that the Republican Party here in New Jersey, I can't speak for all the states because Florida is very different, Texas is different. Right. But in New Jersey particularly, they're still ignoring conservatives. They're still not bringing conservatives to the table. And I've written to the chairman here. I've talked to a lot of chair people who are county chairs who are friends of mine, and many of them quietly agree with me. But still, there's no change. So my question to you is this: how do people change it? I think you answered it by saying get to the grassroots Republicans in each neighborhood and ward. But you've got an uphill battle, don't you?
Well, I do. And look, Steve, if you look at the voting rolls today. I'll give you Union County as an example based on last year's numbers. You have maybe 50,000 Republicans, you have 120,000 Democrats, and you have like 70 or 80,000 independents. I think today, because I am a conservative, but I also believe that, again, coming from my upbringing, that, we do need to help people who need help, but we got to make sure that we help them in the right way. And they don't take advantage of the system. We see too many people taking advantage of the system, and the far left says that's what we need to do. We need to become socialized. We don't need to become a socialized country, because if we do, we got problems. I don't want to live in Venezuela. I don't want to live in a third world country. I want to be able to open up a business, have freedoms, and so on and so forth. But I think when you say conservative, I am a conservative, but I'm more of a moderate conservative, because I do believe that we still need to do that hand up, but not hand out. We need to give the people the opportunity to live. And I think when we talk about conservative, I think most of the time we have to focus on, when we're in office, should I win this seat? When I'm in office, my job is to solely number one, I will always stay true to who I am. That will never change. I will never become a puppet on the string. And that's from my upbringing. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. But if we focus on the constituents, and it shouldn't matter if they're Democrat, Republican, or independent, that's the only way that we win an election, and we stay true to that, who we are, right? You're not going to like every vote that I vote on. You're just not gonna. It just happens. But you can't hate me for it. You have to understand that I voted that way based on my conscience, what's in the best interest of the people, and what's in the best interest of the state or the country. So I think conservatism has got to lean a little bit more towards a little bit more moderate, because we can be fair and balanced in anything we do. We can be fair and balanced. We just can't be too far right nor too far left. Most of what you see today in the voting is right down the middle. People don't want that too farism. There's always a gray area in anything you do. And I think that gray area fills a void. And that's when I can turn an independent. I've turned Democrats my way. And it's letting them understand that we're going to work together as a team, and how you negotiate. Everything is about negotiation. You can't just give something to somebody on the Democratic side just because you want something. It has to be fair and equal to everybody throughout the state.
Well, listen, we have a war going on our southern border. All right, let's talk about this drug problem. Fentanyl is coming across that border. The cartel is in complete control of the border. And the United States government has done little or nothing under the Democrat administration to solve the problem. I bring that up because now the cartel's wings, if you will, or tentacles are in every state, including New Jersey. Fentanyl's hitting this state. Young people are dying. The New Jersey State Senate, the body of office that you are running for, as well as the Assembly, in my view, has done nothing. nothing to curb the problem. They can hand all the garbage they want to us regarding what they have done, what they're doing. Look, you and I have been around a long time, all right?
Right.
I'm in law enforcement 38 years, and all I heard is we're going to win the war on drugs. I heard that in 1970, and we're talking about it now in the 21st century. So my question to you is two questions. One, why haven't the Democrats in this state and around the country condemned the Biden administration's policies? And I'm talking about the state assemblies and state senates, because we can do that. And why haven't they done anything substantial to curb the flow of drugs into this state? And what's Carmen Bucco going to do when he's elected to the New Jersey State Senate about that problem?
So let's be real about this, right? Both sides are at blame, right? Both sides take the blame, because I'm sure one side has to give this side and this side has to give this side. We all know that in politics, right? That's upfront. We had 4 years ago, we had control of that border. We had control. Listen, I had a problem with drugs, and I get it, and I don't want to see this drug problem continue. And that's where zero tolerance policy comes into place. And you have to negotiate that, and you have to go negotiate. We should have something. We could do anything, but the problem is it takes forever, because this person wants this side wants this, and this side wants this. Nobody's coming in the middle and saying, hey, every other country you talk about, think about all these other countries. Every country has a wall. Every country. Maybe I can name one or two that don't, but you are not crossing their borders unless you come in and you get checked in, you get vetted. We're just letting these people in. The biggest problem I found was during COVID. Maybe a year ago, I think it was. You're putting people that are crossing the border on buses, COVID, they had COVID and everything, and you're sending them to Patterson, you're sending them to all kinds of places in New Jersey, and they're bringing COVID with them. You didn't even test these people. So you're killing our people by bringing these people in. Something has to be done, but until we as politicians, I'm more civic minded, until we say enough is enough, it's going to continue to happen. And I get that you want to help these people. I don't have a problem with that. But don't sit here and say they were in concentration camps since Obama into Trump. They're still in concentration camps to Biden. So nothing has changed.
Well, let me ask you this question, Carmen. Why can't you, and this is a thought that's crossing my mind, challenge your opponent to introduce a resolution to condemn the Biden policies on the border because those drugs are coming into New Jersey? See, that's my point. I mean, what has your opponent done? What has your opponent or any Democrat in this state, and let alone Republicans at this point, but since you are a Republican running against a Democrat, why not just put it to them?
So, Steve, we could do that, and it's going to go nowhere. Let's talk reality, brother.
Well, yeah, it'll go nowhere.
I'll tell you this.
But you as a candidate are speaking up. You know what I mean?
I will tell you this. Should I win this Senate seat, something will be done. I'm no nonsense, and you know that about me. Something will be done. Whether they like me, look, if I get one term, at least I know in 4 years I accomplished what I set out to do. So we could write all the letters we want. We could challenge the other side to whatever we want until the people see reality and say, you know what, I'm giving this kid a chance. I'm going to see what he's got to bring to the table. And when I accomplish that, then I won't ever have to run again. I'll just put my name on the ballot, sit back, and the people will vote for me because they know, whether a Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter what they are, they know that I'm going to do what needs to be done. And I'm going to negotiate the best way I can and the hardest way I can. But I normally get what I want.
Well, no, I know you've been very successful and determined at what you're doing, and I believe you'll get things done. That I believe.
It's just we got to get look, Steve. I got to get the voters out. The message has to be clear: zero tolerance, no nonsense. I'm going to take small businesses, and they're going to start to flourish. And if you look at today, you see more small businesses actually starting to open. Because people who worked in these big corporations and big box stores are starting to say, wait, I could do this on my own. So we need a support method for them.
All right, so tell us, where's your business, and tell us a little bit more about your foundation, and then we'll wrap things up. I tell you, extraordinary story you shared with us about your past.
Thank you, thank you. I'm excited about the foundation more than anything. We're gonna do some really good things for these foster kids and orphans. We're gonna give them the opportunity I had. I have two stores. We're looking to open up a third. One is in Nutley, New Jersey, and one is in Huntington. I actually brought my store back to Nutley because Nutley gave. I mean, I could have put it any place, but Nutley gave me the ability to start to become who I am. So that was my first location. But I actually got to the second round of the Shark Tank 3 times. We almost got to The Profit,
Wow.
which is on CNBC. Yeah, I really want to hit The Profit. Marcus Lemonis was an orphan, and I think we could do amazing things together. But it's a true testament to tell these young people that you can accomplish anything you want to do. You just can't depend on the state, and you got to create your own destiny. And as far as the politics go, Steve, to me, it's very simple, man. We're in trouble, and we're continuing to go in trouble. You see the stock market, people aren't going to spend money. You see UPS and all these big box stores laying off people. We got to do something, because once you see UPS start laying off, that means packages aren't going out. People aren't spending money. That's a problem.
It sure is. Well, Carmen, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. I'm going to come to visit you real soon.
Yes, I haven't seen you in a while, so stop
Yeah,
by.
because your opponent, as well as others, are going to be hearing from us, because I want an answer to that question from the Democrats in this state. And so when I get the answer, I'll give it to you. All right. And then let's see where he goes. You probably are the only one running for office in recent time in New Jersey who has a true real life story of pulling your bootstraps up, turning, the Bible says what was meant for evil, God turned for good.
Yes.
You did that. But not only did you do it for yourself, you're doing it for other people. And to me, that's an extraordinary candidate in extraordinary times who should really be elected to office. And my best to you.
Real quick, Stephen, and I tell people all the time, my business is run on Google. 99% of my business comes from Google. I tell people, you want to know about me, go to Buco Couture, read the reviews. That's how I am in business, and that's how I am in politics. I don't change for nobody, for nothing. Should I win this seat, we're going to do some amazing things in this district. We're going to give everybody a fair opportunity to live the American dream.
Thank you so much, Carmen, for joining us, and I'll see you real soon. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Steve. Stay well. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you. Well, there we go, folks. All right, folks, we're back live, and we're going to go retrieve TJ, who was so kind enough to join me earlier in the day, who spent a good amount of time with me, folks, in discussing some of the issues that are occurring in Canada. And like I said earlier, for those of you who have just tuned in, astonishing that, and I want to thank the individual who sent us the January 12th, 2022 True North article on the RCMP commissioner back then, suggesting that the people of Canada should actually evaluate your free speech on the internet. That's what that was all about. And we're going to be following up on that. And we're going to certainly be addressing that as we move forward. So let's get to TJ right now. And then I'll be back to you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have our guest on, known as TJ throughout the entire nation of Canada, and will become known as TJ throughout the entire United States. So TJ, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, here we go again with Justin Trudeau. But before I get into his antics, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Bill C-11, which is an alarming piece of legislation, at least to many here in America and the free world. Very soon, in fact, probably within the next few days, we here at Campaign for America will be publishing our 6-page research report, part of Operation or Project Maple Leaf, to the United States Congress Committee on Foreign Affairs. We have some very, very interesting summary that they need to know. And by all means, we're going to get it to them. But for the sake of our audience here in America and in Canada, can you give us any idea where that piece of legislation is?
Well, right now we're supposed to pass it in the Senate. So we have House hearings where everybody votes on it, and then it goes into a Senate. And amendments were made in the Senate. Then it was passed back to the House to basically delegate any amendments and changes to the bill. However, they really haven't touched on it since the last time they had a House of Parliament meeting. So I'm not really sure where they are with the amendments. I understand that there were quite a few of them, just because it's such a controversial bill. And I'm hoping that the amendments, which we haven't even seen yet, and it hasn't really been published on the exact details of the amendments. I'm hoping that it will benefit Canadians, even though I don't think the bill in its entirety is going to benefit Canadians at all.
Now, in our report to our Congressional House Foreign Affairs Committee, we've cited the influence of the Chinese Communist Party with regard to Canadians' infrastructure, communication infrastructure. And that's where the concern is. It seems to us, and in our view, after our research, and it's been pretty extensive, that Justin Trudeau has really warmed up to the CCP and the policies of Beijing. Now, of course, one may think, well, this is an exaggeration, as we cited in our report, and one may think, well, we're overreacting. But in our report, we've reminded our U.S. congressional representatives that we in the United States went through this in the 50s, 60s, all the way up to the 80s, until a guy named Ronald Reagan, who was a Hollywood actor, got involved in a fight against Soviet communism. And TJ, it began, and we reminded our lawmakers of this in that report, it began with Hollywood. It began in radio, TV. They didn't have internet back then, but the taking over of communications. And we see the same exact pattern developing now in Canada. So the CCP, I understand that through our research, they've been very involved and maybe very invested in Canada, but have you got anything to report on their involvement with the infrastructure at this point, the communication infrastructure?
Nothing new except the fact that I believe some of the towers are theirs, and the Huawei, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, technology that was brought into Canada. However, nothing in detail regarding the infrastructure that the CCP government has brought in. I just know that we have 3 times more the Chinese diplomats in Canada than any other country, which is also a little bit worrying considering the amount of money that is going to the Liberal Party from the CCP and Justin Trudeau's admiration for Chinese basic dictatorship, which he said prior to winning his election during his campaign. So everything is basically now coming together with what he had said back in 2016 and 15 with what is happening now. I think it was basically a slow takeover with Justin Trudeau allowing them in. And I also believe that the World Economic Forum absolutely admires the Chinese president as well as Justin Trudeau. So there might be a connection or a link there as well with how they've met. And I know Justin Trudeau has leaked certain things that him and the Chinese president have spoken about. And there is video circulating about the CCP not being too happy with them with that.
You know, there's an old saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So let's start with the tree. The tree is Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau back in the 50s and 60s and on and on and on. I guess he was a prime minister way after that. But during the Reagan administration, when Ronald Reagan decided to push back on the Soviet Communist Party, when Ronald Reagan wanted to set up a meeting with the Kremlin to address the nuclear arms issue, Pierre Trudeau opposed that. He seemed to be more on the side of the Chinese, on the Soviet Communist Party than on the side of the free world, which leads me to the apple, which is Justin Trudeau. He apparently, at least in our view, based on the pattern we're beginning to see take place with him and his policies, he apparently is following the lead of his father, cozying up to, not to the Soviet Communist Party, because they're gone, but to the Chinese Communist Party, which leads me to this. I understand that there is evidence, or at least I believe him, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, that your intelligence agencies, I believe the CIS or some agency like that, discovered that there may have been, in fact, election interference by the Chinese Communist Party in your elections. I don't know if that's true or not. However, regardless of whether it's true or not, it provoked or at least initiated Trudeau to at least launch an investigation into this matter involving the Chinese influence in your country. What is astonishing is that here is a prime minister, again, in our view, cozying up to the Chinese Communist Party, allowing Chinese police stations, allowing the Chinese to get involved in the infrastructure with regard to communication in your country. And not only does he decide that he's going to establish this committee, but we found out today a relative or two of his are going to be on the committee.
Yeah, that seems to be a pattern with Justin Trudeau. He did this with the Emergency Act hearing as well, where the judge was apparently somehow related to his aunt. So Justin Trudeau likes to virtue signal that he is setting up a meeting regarding Chinese interference, but with all the admiration he has had for basic Chinese dictatorship, it's kind of easy to see that he was the one that brought this interference in because they're the ones that helped him win. There's also some talk about missing ballots, uncounted votes, almost 220,000 uncounted votes in the last election. And so I would not be surprised if Justin Trudeau not only orchestrated all of this, but now he's virtue signaling that he wants to find out who the problem is, when honestly, I think all of Canadians realize that Justin Trudeau is the problem with everything, because we have never had this much corruption out in the open and nothing seems ever to be done. CSIS did say that there was an interference with our election, that the Chinese might have been involved in it. But I think it is pretty evident that with everything that has kind of happened in the last 3-4 years, especially with Justin Trudeau at the helm, that we are losing our freedoms more and more and going towards Chinese communist style, basically takeover of Canada.
Now, for the sake of those who are allies of Justin Trudeau and the Canadian Parliament who are watching, how do I know you're watching? It seems like after every program I have, every commercial we have, pushing back on what Trudeau and the Canadian Parliament are doing, I get deluged with not hundreds, but thousands of emails, pretty nasty ones. But here's my point. Number one, we are not interfering with your government as you are alleging we're doing. We are not interfering with your government. It's up to the Canadian people to do with that, and they seem to be doing it rather effectively. So we don't get involved in the internal affairs of your government. But when your government, with your support, is supporting policies that may very, very soon, if not later, interfere with the freedom and liberty and individual rights of the American people, that to me is interfering with our national security. My point is this: if you allow, meaning the Canadian people and parliament members and every supporter of Justin Trudeau, if you're allowing the Communist Party of China to influence your country to the degree that they're going to take over slowly but surely, you will be enslaved to the Communist Party, which means we have a problem on our border. So this is why we're involved. This is why all of our information doesn't go to your parliament. It goes to our Congress, our elected officials. So I just wanted to put that out there. So do me a favor. If you're going to send me emails, would you wait 24 hours? Just wait 24 hours. I just can't get to all your mail within a 24-hour period, and then go to it. All right. I had to get that out there, TJ, because it's really amazing, the response. But it shows me that the Canadian people and that people in the free world who are watching will have an impact. Now, speaking about that, we do have the video of Justin Trudeau in 2013, I believe it was, at a women's club meeting where he said he admired the Chinese Communist Party. Now, to my non-surprise, most Americans were unaware of that. In fact, most Americans, TJ, as I said over and over again, were not aware of what's going on in Canada. And now we're going to start rolling those tapes and those videos and making people aware. So could you summarize, okay, and we're going to talk a little bit more about other issues, to the American audience, from you, a Canadian, what in the world is going on up there and how serious this problem is?
Well, for one, I don't think a lot of people like Justin Trudeau. That's why he had to basically partner up with the NDPs to get a majority of any kind of votes in the House. A lot of people are very angry with the way the country is going and where it's running and how fast they're expediting taking our rights. Everything is being backdoor policy, secret meetings where we're not being consulted with what's happening. And to be honest, the amount of exodus out of Canada by Canadians is astounding, especially in the last couple of weeks of people messaging me on my social media, basically saying they're selling everything and leaving Canada because it is getting to be to the point of we have a tyrant who does not care about the Canadians or the Canadian people. He serves on the World Economic Forum first and foremost, then the UN, and now the CCP. So the Canadian people are not even on the list anywhere for Justin Trudeau and basically what we want. I believe the emails I'm getting are probably Justin Trudeau bots. I get them a lot as well, but they are completely fake because every single person I talk to from coast to coast agrees that Justin Trudeau, we need to call another election. He just needs to go. I mean, he's irresponsible. He does not take responsibility for anything he does. He has basically split the Canadian people down so far in the middle on so many different issues that we really need somebody right now in the parliament who will unite people as Canadians again. And I believe Justin Trudeau is pretty much this country down the garbage chute faster than I have ever seen in the history of Canada and studying any other politician besides his dad.
You know, here's what I can't wrap my arms around it, and a lot of Americans can't. We went through a similar period of time and continue to go through a period of time here with Joe Biden in office. But we had Republicans that stood up and spoke to his power, ran for office, got elected, and to this day are introducing legislation that is absolutely decimating the power of the President of the United States and his Democrat colleagues. Added to that, TJ, and this is a message to the NDP party, I guess, you might want to keep an eye on what's going on with the Democrat party here. They have turned on Biden. And every day, more and more Democrats are turning on him for this reason, TJ. It's not out of love for people like us, all right? They're not turning against Biden. It's for the love of their power and their money, you see? They know with hanging on to the coattails of Biden, they're going to go down the tubes quick. And I believe the same thing is going to happen in Canada, that those NDP party members and parliament members hanging on to the coattails of Trudeau, they're going to go down the tubes. Now, to add insult to injury regarding the rights of the Canadian people being hindered or taken away, we got a report that I believe it was a Catholic high school student in Canada who was arrested. The media reported that he was arrested because he spoke out against, I guess, a school curriculum or policy that that he was not in agree with. Could you give the American audience here a little idea of what's going on with that? I was stunned that a student would be arrested at a high school.
I believe it was, I'm not sure if it was a mask issue or if you're seeing of the transgender bathroom issue at the school. I believe that
let's talk about both of them if we could. Let's talk about both of them.
I believe it was the transgender issue bathroom because some of the female students were feeling uncomfortable with having some of the transgender students in the bathrooms with them. And I believe they voiced their opinions. They didn't get in there. And then he felt the need to basically defend these girls, his classmates, and basically got arrested. The teachers called the police on him and arrested him in school. And that is what is happening in Canada right now based on all of the liberal policies that they're pushing on us. And we're not even allowed to basically say we disagree with them. There's absolutely no discourse allowed, which seems to be the norm, especially in the last 4 years. And it's only getting tighter and tighter with what we're allowed to say and what we're not allowed to say.
Well, to the police officials watching, we have a potpourri of people watching from both sides. Number one, in the United States of America, TJ, we have worked so very hard to create very good police community relations, and still working on that. And we've had a lot of protests here, a lot of violence here, but there's still a connection between the public and the police, especially when we had the people seeking to defund the police. The majority of Americans back the police. I bring that up because the Canadian government, in my view, and the view of many cops out here in America, are using the police as pawns to go after the citizens of your country. And unfortunately, the police command staff, whoever you are, and I like, if you know somebody on the command staff from Canada watching, let just roll this part of the video. You're being used as puppets by the government, in our view. And you know, the sad story is they're demonizing you. They're demonizing every officer in the country called Canada. They're demonizing you. They're weaponizing you against the people. Now, I'm not suggesting you should disobey orders, but as commanders, you could question orders. As commanders, you should stand up and say, look, I believe the rights of a lot of these people are being violated. You could do that. Why you don't do that, I don't understand. Why you don't stand up publicly and exercise your rights to free speech, I don't understand. So my question to you regarding that comment I just had, do you see a sense of anger? I mean, I'm talking about a lot of anger and distrust now between the public and the police, because you got a lot of great cops, a lot of wonderful law enforcement officers working hard and are very opposed to what's going on. Of course, they can't speak out. They're the lower ranking people. But do you see the beginning of a real serious, catastrophic, long-term problem between the relations of the people of Canada and their police?
Definitely not anger, but a lot of distrust and wanting reform in our police force. So I think after the Ottawa incident with, the police beating on innocent citizens, and then in Alberta here, we actually had police officers arresting citizens for just sitting on the side of the highway with flags on their own property. Just for waving on their own property. And we're also not allowed to fly Canadian flags on our trucks anymore because the cops pull us over, and they have been given the, I guess, go ahead to give us tickets or arrest us if we fly flags, because now it's considered some safety issue that they've made up. So it has come so far that we are not allowed to fly our own country's flag on our own properties or basically on our trucks because of the trucker protest. And watching police officers beat innocent citizens who were not fighting or arguing or in any way disobeying any laws, but basically flying the Canadian flag to be proud of Canada. Watching them being roughed up by police officers has put a very bad sentiment against them. I don't trust police officers. No one in the country does anymore either. We're more afraid of them than anything else.
I think what I'm going to do is, we've got a good number of people here in the States flying Canadian flags with their American flags. Maybe I'll take some pictures and we'll post them.
That'd be awesome.
As you were telling me that, I was thinking, I wonder what would happen. And I'm not suggesting this. I don't want somebody to say, oh, he's suggesting something crazy. Just a thought crossed my mind. Instead of flying Canadian flags, how about Chinese Communist Party flags? I wonder, the embarrassment. Trudeau is an embarrassment to the world, let alone the country. But I'm just wondering what would happen. Again, I'm not saying do this, folks. I'm just crossed my mind as you were speaking. I was just wondering, could you imagine going down a highway, flying trucks, thousands of trucks, flying Chinese Communist Party flags and not being stopped? And then being stopped for flying a Canadian flag. I'll tell you, what a bunch of hypocrites. But I would ask people to do this in all seriousness. Pray for your cops, really. Pray for the good cops. It probably breaks their heart to see what's going on. It breaks our heart because, the police family, we're all in the same family. But, TJ, Campaign for America is an organization of action, not just talking and collecting information. So with regard to the police in Canada, we are sending a report. And again, all of this is going to be publicized when we vet it all and we take a little sensitive stuff out. We're going to report the actions of the Canadian police to the International Associations of Chiefs of Police, which Canadian police officers belong to. Now, why are we doing that? Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know if they could do anything, but we're going to ask them to do something. And I'm not going to talk about it on the air. And it's not punitive, all right, but it's something that certainly needs to be done in Canada with the police. And we're going to report back to the public. I'm not promising we're successful at everything we do, but we know we're successful in one thing. We're successful in doing what we say we're going to do. And then it goes on from there. All right, so Trudeau's record is destroying the credibility of the government to a point that he's now really known in the free world as someone who is not friendly towards the free world. His pattern and his policies are really bad. We see the Canadian Parliament kowtowing to him, which leads me to this question. Another thing that we're finding hard to wrap our hands around is that, yes, we had Republican representatives standing up and speaking to power. In America, we have not seen one Canadian member of the Parliament stand up and publicly really go toe-to-toe with Trudeau and their colleagues who are friends of Trudeau in Parliament. Now, I've seen on the internet, there's one, and I don't know these people, so maybe you could help straighten me out on this. On the internet, there's a Michelle Ferrari. We get a lot of feeds from her. She's a member of Parliament. I don't know her. Maybe you don't know her either. I don't.
I'm super bad with names, but I'm very familiar with faces. That's my only downfall. Is I'm so bad with.
Look, I'm not familiar with everybody in the government in our country, but maybe if you look her up, and next time we have you on, which will be soon, and we'll talk about that to the people in a few minutes. We can find her. She's been all over her province where she represents. She's on the internet constantly, and we're getting her feeds. So she seems like she speaks up. We've gotten some feeds of members in Parliament when they're in session opposing the policies, but your media out there, it doesn't seem like it seems like they're censored already, or something's going on there that the truth is not getting out.
Oh, the media is paid for and bought by Justin Trudeau. Our tax money actually pays for all of the media. And that's why it's so important that we have basic individual citizen journalists. That is why I started my website, is to really get the truth out, because they're using our money to basically censor information from us. We do not have a single news outlet that is a major mainstream news media that will tell the or go against Justin Trudeau. If they do, they maybe will say something in the sense of, oh, Justin Trudeau, his rank is falling. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure it's at 30% of the population that still supports Justin Trudeau. And I believe that 30% is completely asleep and there's no helping them awaken. So in Canada, I'm not even sure why we need the Bill C-11 when we don't have any sort of media that gives out truth. I believe that this is more for censoring anybody who's attempting to put the truth out there. And no one is telling us any policy changes. I'm the one that is going and reading through government websites the changes that are being made, and unfortunately it seems like we don't even have an opposition party anymore. The distrust in the government in general in Canada is very right now, and this includes the conservative sides as well, just because no one is fighting back for us in the policies that he's putting in. It almost seems as if it's a theatrical show that they're putting on, that they're in opposition, when in fact it seems like they're working together, all three sides, the NDPs, the Conservatives, and the Liberals. There's maybe a few individuals in the Conservative side, but not any individuals with any sort of power to make change.
Well, in our view here, C-11 and policies like that to filter or hinder the ability to communicate back and forth, certainly we're going to be one of the targets, right? People like us, we're going to be one of those they're going to look at and say, well, we're not going to allow those transmissions in here. But fortunately for us, and unfortunately for Trudeau, we found a way around it. And if and when that time comes, we're going to use, within the framework of the laws of the United States of America, Mr. Trudeau, the laws of America, okay, which you have no control over, we're going to use our laws to communicate with the people in Canada. and around the world. It's almost like Radio Free Europe when the Nazis took over Europe, and Voice of America when the communists in the Soviet Union took over. What a shame that we have to talk about these things. It's just a tragedy. So with regard to there is one issue, and I know, and I haven't talked about this, but I know that you're a person that believes in doing things with dignity and honor and making sure that they're done properly within the framework of the law. Now, to the American audience, as well as the Canadian audience, especially here in America, we're getting some feedback, very troubling feedback, that there are people in both our countries who indeed they want to protest, but there's this idea going around that, well, you know what, it's time to push more forcefully. It's time to do things that would cause more problems than one could imagine. I'm going to give you a word of advice. No violence, no talk of violence, no talk of breaking the law, none of that talk. Because by talking about that, you're going to inflame the passions of people who are not going to be interested in your movement for freedom and liberty, but they're going to be interested in advancing their own agenda. In addition to that, I've learned here in America that when people protested, and I'm sure TJ, it's happened in Canada, outside agitators will come in and they will try to disrupt things and control the narrative to a point where there's violence and there's arrest. So my point is this, and TJ, you being a Canadian, I love for you who have great influence in your country who could share that. No violence, none of this talk going back and forth, even on the internet where you want to take your government down, where you want to do this and do that. That is absolutely out of bounds. Do it within the framework of your Constitution of the United States or your Bill of Rights in Canada. Do it within the framework of the law. And you know what? They will lose and you will win. TJ.
Absolutely. And this is why I always tell everybody, and I mean everyone that has ever talked to me, stay calm. Emotions and politics do not mix. We have to and we must remain calm at all times, because without the calm, we're not collected, and our judgment then is thrown out the window. With protests, we've seen just how they can get out of control. And I always tell people there are much easier ways that we can protest with, such as our wallets. We can shop local. We can, reduce and deduce things in a much better tactical way than any protest would ever be gathered in. I had a few agents, provocateurs come to me and ask me, let's get this going. Let's go to the parliament. Let's do what they did in the Netherlands. And I go, absolutely not. Everything that I do and everything that I say will be out in the transparent so that people can see basically, what is happening. Get the laws out there. Let people know. Basically, let them know that they have more power than they think. And we don't need to protest. We can shop locally. We can hurt them where it costs them money, in the sense of, I call it a silent protest. So I tell everybody, if we just go 1 week of just not shopping at any of the products that support some of these mandates and some of these laws that are being put in place, we can switch and flip all of these things that Justin Trudeau is trying to do to us within a month, just by basically saying we won't shop there anymore. We won't buy this product. We won't use this app. And I think that is a much bigger impact than protests, because as you said, people get their emotions involved, and emotions usually tend to steer us the wrong way. It's always important to stay calm and collected.
TJ, do the TV stations, and particularly the CBC, do they have commercials from commercial companies in Canada?
Honestly, I haven't watched the CBC because I've been protesting for about 10 years now. So I'm not even sure what they show on CBC. I refuse to see them on Twitter. I block them on social media. So I don't even know what lies and propaganda that they're spewing.
Well, to follow up on what you said, what we've done in America is, for example, MSNBC, which I'm not a fan of, CNN, I'm not a fan of. But when they start going down a road that obviously reveals to us they're in bed with the Democrat Party, we ask millions of people to call not them, but their sponsors. And boy, it hits them right in the wallet. You call their sponsors, you let them know, you know what, we're not going to be buying any of your products. And there have been some Americans who've gotten in touch with us who said they got the addresses of some of the sponsors and peacefully protested. So when it starts to hit them in the wallet, you're absolutely right. That's when you get action. And I like what you said, silent protest. So the silent protest here in America is working well because the people in our country at a local level are now running for school board seats. They're going to school board meetings and very diplomatically letting these politicians know their days are numbered. I could tell you here in New Jersey and a couple other states now, entire city councils, think about this, entire city councils that were Democrat controlled were wiped out, completely taken out of office and taken over by Republicans. And I could report that a number of Democrat elected officials around the country, and I think there's 3 here in New Jersey, have switched their parties from Democrat to Republican. So more has been done through what you just said, that silent, powerful protest by hitting the wallet and going after their political offices within the framework of the law than the big protest. Now, we're not discouraging anybody to go out and protest. You have that right to assemble. But as TJ said, a lot of times emotions take control. And what is it that you said? When emotions take control, what is that you said?
When emotions take control, basically we lose the ability to think critically. Our critical thinking skills completely leave our bees, and everything becomes very emotionally charged. I've been doing town meetings and encouraging people to get involved in their local councils and to really study the laws that they're putting in and to educate everybody on laws and start making watchdog groups on all of our council members, on all of our school boards. That way they can inform the public instead of the actual counselors that are supposed to and the actual school boards that are supposed to. We have now major watchdog groups on Facebook where we are exchanging information on the laws, on how to change them, on how to get signatures, everything that is being passed in each county. Everybody has started to basically set up these little watchdog groups. And we have made tremendous amounts of change here in Alberta as well with the silent protest, and also by getting involved and really being part of politics and the law that is being passed.
TJ, what's your, how can people get in touch with you?
So I have a website. It's truthseeker01011news.com. I have my email on there.
Okay, great. Now, how about I announce to the people what we're going to plan?
Okay, perfect.
You and I talk about it. Okay. So, folks, here's what we're going to do. The last week, the last Thursday night of each month, we decided not to have a guest on. I want to give you an update on what's happening here in America and also an update on what's happening in Canada. So I asked TJ before we went on the air if she'd be willing to come on the air with me every last Thursday night of each month and give a report on what's going on in Canada, what's happening there, and a report on a lot of success. I think it's critically important that the American people and people around the world not only hear from me about Canada, but hear from someone who lives in your country, who's credible, who has influence, and who truly, truly has her heart in freedom, liberty, and individual rights in your country. So, TJ, you've agreed to do that, correct?
Absolutely. I would be honored to.
Well, thank you very much. So, all right. So now what we'll do is we'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll be in touch with you. The last Thursday night, maybe around March 27th, something like that. The last Thursday night, and I'm sure the Canadian people will be looking forward to having you on, where you'll be able to give them an update. And I'll tell you one thing about you and a few others that I've had the honor to speak with. You're giving facts. I mean, you're really giving facts. You're not giving conspiracy theories. You're not giving, opinions other than when we need to give an opinion, but you're giving facts. And that's what people need. Truth seeker. That's it. You're giving the truth. All right. Well, thanks so much, TJ.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry.
All right. So you have a great one, and God bless you, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
God bless you as well. Thank you so much. See you, everyone.
All right, folks, we're back live. This is exciting what we're doing. But listen, I have something I want to share with Justin Trudeau. So let me just get it up here. If you are a friend of Justin, you might want to pass this on to him before he goes to sleep tonight, because one of his friends is now in serious trouble. We just received a memo, a release of a memo from the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability here in the U.S. Congress. And they have found through an investigation that the Biden family members have received payments from a Chinese energy company. Now, think about this, folks. This is fact, all right? This has been found out by an investigative team of the House Oversight Committee. Now, why do I bring this up tonight? And why do I want Justin Trudeau to pay attention to this? What's the common denominator here, folks? Chinese energy company. Now, we all know, although some people will deny it, that the corporations and energy companies and anything to do with China, you have to be a member of or a close associate of the Chinese Communist Party. So some of these roads, I believe, are going to lead to the office of Justin Trudeau. So let him sleep on that. You might want to call Joe, and say, hey, Joe, don't worry about it. I got your back. And of course, all Joe has to do is hear that, and he better run as far away as he could. But my point is, folks, is that they all get caught. Remember I shared with you going a couple of years back when we started this, they all get caught. Remember what the Bible says, light will always shine on darkness. Light will always reveal what is in the dark. And those people who are fighting freedom, liberty, and individual rights, they're in a dark state. They're so dark, they're probably so blind they can't see it themselves. But they're all going to get caught, one by one by one. We've got investigations here going on now every day by the United States Congress. Fauci has been subpoenaed. There have been lawyers subpoenaed that are taking things to court for the Democrat Party. There are politicians who have been subpoenaed. This is just the beginning, folks. This is just the beginning of the domino effect you're going to see here in the United States of America. And these corrupt individuals are going to be taken to task, believe me. And this is a result of what? Grassroots people like yourself who stood up, stood the course, prayed, and really went to work for freedom and liberty. Now, another exciting thing I'm going to show you, just this reel here. Okay, you know what that is? We opened up a store. We're trying to find unique ways to raise money to keep us on the air and to keep us going without coming on every single week asking for dollars and cents. We don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. I put this up here in the beginning. I want you to read that, folks. First, take care of your family, pay your bills and other obligations. First, do that. And then if you have a small donation, please visit our website and send it to us. If not, believe me, if not, what's more powerful, probably more than money and anything else that you could send us, is prayer. Because when you pray, God will touch the hearts of people that can't afford it. He'll touch their hearts to help us out. We're not funded by any government agency. We're not funded by any corporation. We're funded by the people. So that's who we depend on, you. But if you go to RogersAmerica.com, scroll down, and you're going to see mugs that have Campaign for America and Canada on them. Some T-shirts. We got some new products coming out. And what does that do? Well, here's a good part of it. All of the profits, all of the proceeds, I'm not going to say profits, all of the proceeds that come into that store go directly to the operations of Campaign for America. So it kind of makes us feel good that we're giving you something in return for your hard-earned dollars. So take a look at that. We've got it set up so that it's as affordable as it could be. But if you can't, just help us out if you could by sending a donation. So what do you think of that? So that's about it, folks. It's exciting. We've got exciting times ahead. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We're thinking of having a fireside chat this Sunday night at 7 p.m. That's when we kind of get around the fireside, if you will, and we bring a biblical perspective to some of the trials and tribulations that we are all facing in these extraordinary times. But I'm excited. I'm excited because this flag is still here. You see the Canadian flag? That's still flying. That one there in Mexico, well, we've had some problems with their president, but we're still going to stick with the people in Mexico, who's part of North America, who love freedom and liberty. That's it, folks. Thanks so much. RogersAmerica.com is our store. CampaignForAmerica.com is our website. I hope and pray that all goes well with you, because in reality, think about this, all is well. At the end of the day, they lose, we win, and they're going to hear from our lips, right? Our lips to their ears, let freedom ring. Thank you all. God bless you all. See you next Thursday night, 7 p.m. here live, if not sooner, at least that on that Thursday, but maybe Sunday night at a fireside chat. Thank you, and God bless you all.